Hey guys, welcome back to the EndingFlix channel. Today, we're breaking down the 2025 vampire horror movie, Dracula, written and directed by Luc Besson. This story follows a vampire who has stayed alive for centuries, waiting for his lost love and killing people, turning them into vampires just to reach her again. All right, let's not waste any time and jump straight into the story. The movie opens in the year 1480. Inside a castle, Elizabeth is standing alone, quietly looking at a golden music box. She's holding it gently. This is a gift from her husband, Prince Vlad. Vlad walks into the room and starts talking to her. There's warmth between them. He pulls her into a loving embrace. Prince Vlad is the ruler of Romania, and he's deeply in love with his wife, Elizabeth. Life inside the castle is peaceful. The two of them are happy. Most of their days are spent together, laughing, talking, enjoying each other's company. One day, Vlad and Elizabeth are alone in their room, growing intimate, when everything suddenly changes. A message arrives. War has begun. The enemy army has already reached the fortress. Vlad reacts immediately. He begins preparing for battle and orders his soldiers to escort Elizabeth to a secure fortress. Somewhere she'll be safe and out of danger. Before leaving for war, Vlad prays to God. He receives a blessing from the bishop. Vlad is deeply devoted to God, and most of the battles he's fought have been in God's name. But today, his thoughts are on Elizabeth. He tells the bishop that he's willing to sacrifice his own life for God. All he asks in return is that Elizabeth be spared. He says his life has no meaning without her. The bishop listens and tells Vlad they will pray for Elizabeth's protection. Vlad responds, telling him not to pray. He tells him to go and tell God directly. Vlad may be devoted to God, but he's not willing to sacrifice his love under any circumstances. With that, Prince Vlad leaves for war, and Elizabeth rides out with the soldiers toward the secure fortress. What they don't know is that the enemy already knows about Elizabeth's secret route. They hide behind the trees, waiting. As soon as Elizabeth and her guards reach that area, the enemy attacks from all sides. Within moments, every soldier protecting her is killed. Elizabeth barely manages to escape. The scene then shifts to the battlefield. Vlad has won. His soldiers are celebrating the victory. In the middle of this, a man rushes toward him and tells him that Elizabeth has been attacked. Vlad doesn't hesitate. He immediately rides out to find her. Meanwhile, Elizabeth changes her path to avoid the enemies. Slowly, she enters a frozen region. Wolves roam the area, and because of them, deadly traps are buried beneath the ground. Suddenly, her horse steps into one of those traps. She's thrown to the ground. Now she's surrounded. The enemies close in from all sides. At that exact moment, Vlad arrives. He cuts down every enemy that stands in his way as he charges toward her, but more enemies rush in and surround Elizabeth again. Vlad reaches her, fighting through them, killing anyone who comes close. Then it happens. One enemy swings his sword and strikes Elizabeth. Vlad runs to her and catches her in his arms. Elizabeth dies right there, in his embrace. Broken by pain and consumed by rage, Vlad goes straight to the Pope. He accuses God of failing to protect his wife, even though he fought every war in God's name. He grabs the Pope by the throat and demands that he tell God to perform a miracle. To bring Elizabeth back to life, there is no answer. The Pope stays silent. Vlad's anger explodes. He kills the Pope using a cross. Standing before everyone, Vlad declares that until God returns Elizabeth to him, he will never bow before God again. At that moment, violent winds tear through the church. Blood begins to flow like tears from the statue of Jesus. God has cursed Vlad. He is no longer human. He becomes a vampire. Later, Vlad learns that every pure soul is given a chance to return to the world after centuries. And so, he decides to wait. He waits for Elizabeth to return. 400 years pass. The story moves forward to the present, where Dr. Dumont arrives with his assistant to seek help from a priest about a patient. The patient is strange, unexplainable. The doctor can't understand what's wrong with her. She shows signs of something supernatural. That's why they need the Pope's help. After that, the priest visits the mental hospital to see the patient. She's kept in a special cell, deep in the basement. There, the doctor tells the priest her name is Maria. She's 25 years old, and she's engaged to Henry William Spencer, a relative of the Queen. The doctor then explains something else. Before the wedding, Maria made it very clear she would not get married in a church, so the wedding was arranged at home instead. But on the wedding day, the moment Henry called a bishop to give his blessing, Maria saw him and suddenly turned violent. She completely lost control. When her old records are pulled, something disturbing comes up. According to the documents, Maria was born in the year 1759. If that's true, she should be over 130 years old, but she looks no older than 25. The doctor assumes the records must be wrong, but the priest starts to suspect something else. Just then, the sleeping Maria slowly opens her eyes. The priest steps closer and tries to speak to her. As Maria turns her face toward him, he notices her sharp fangs. In that instant, he understands. Maria is a vampire. Filled with shock and excitement, he says this is the first vampire ever captured alive, but the doctors don't believe him. To prove it, the priest opens a window. Sunlight pours into the room. Maria's skin immediately begins to burn. Now there's no doubt. She really is a vampire. The priest then holds up a cross in front of her. Maria reacts with rage and burns it. Next, the priest grabs the doctor's assistant, cuts his palm, and lets a small amount of blood drip into Maria's mouth. While doing this, he notices bite marks on her neck. That's when he realizes the truth. Maria was once human. She was bitten by a vampire and turned. The priest asks her about the vampire who did this. Maria doesn't say much. She only says her master is a prince searching for his princess. And she says one day, he will come looking for her. The scene shifts. A lawyer named Jonathan arrives in a city for a specific purpose, but halfway through the journey, his carriage driver refuses to go any farther. He says this area belongs to wolves. Before leaving, the driver strangely gives Jonathan a cross for protection. Jonathan continues on alone. Soon he reaches a massive castle. As soon as he steps inside, the doors shut on their own. Inside, he meets an old man who introduces himself as Prince Vlad. This man is Count Dracula. He is the same Prince Vlad we saw 400 years ago. They sit down to eat together. Jonathan explains that he's a lawyer and has come to finalize a property deal for Vlad. During the conversation, a cross slips out of Jonathan's bag and falls to the floor. Vlad asks him if he believes in God. Jonathan says no. While Jonathan is still talking, Vlad quietly picks up the cross and throws it into the fire. Later, Dracula shows Jonathan to his room. Before leaving, he firmly warns him not to step outside the room. Alone in his chamber, Jonathan starts reading a book about the castle's history. As he turns the pages, he comes across a picture of Princess Elizabeth in her youth. But something is wrong. Her face in the picture is torn apart. Elsewhere, the priest arrives at Maria's home and tells her fiancé that her condition has improved, but the evil inside her hasn't fully disappeared, so she'll need to stay in the hospital for a few more days. While speaking, the priest quietly slips into Maria's room. He begins searching for anything connected to vampires. That's when he sees it. The same torn picture Jonathan saw in the book. Back at the castle, Jonathan can't sleep. Restless, he steps outside his room and starts wandering the halls. He notices a faint light behind a door. Slowly, he opens it and walks down a staircase into a beautiful underground chamber. In the center of the room, there's a coffin. Curious, Jonathan opens it. Inside, he sees Dracula lying in a deep sleep. But just as Jonathan starts to step back, Dracula suddenly grabs his wrist. In a cold, sharp voice, he tells him he was warned not to leave his room. At that moment, terrifying creatures appear and knock Jonathan unconscious. These are the gargoyles, Dracula's loyal servants. Sometime later, Jonathan wakes up and realizes he's chained. At Dracula's signal, the gargoyles flip him upside down and hang him from the ceiling. Terrified, Jonathan asks if Vlad plans to kill him. Vlad calmly says yes, just not yet. He says once all the blood rushes to Jonathan's head, then he'll kill him. Shaking, Jonathan asks who he really is. Vlad tells him he's a cursed man, a man made immortal by God's punishment. He's so cursed that even death won't take him, and to survive, he needs blood. As he says this, Vlad makes a small cut on Jonathan's face. Blood begins to drip. One of the gargoyles immediately collects it in a large bowl. Dracula lets out a chilling laugh. Then he says Jonathan is about to die. He asks if Jonathan has any final wish. Panicked, Jonathan says he wants nothing. He only wants to hear Vlad's story. This is the first time anyone has ever asked Dracula that. Vlad pauses. Then he orders the gargoyles to lower Jonathan, and he begins to tell his story. He says there was a time when he was completely devoted to God. He fought many wars in God's name. He killed for God. And yet, that same God took Elizabeth away from him. From that day on, Vlad turned his back on God, and in return, God cursed him and turned him into a vampire. After burying Elizabeth, Vlad travels across Europe, searching for signs of her rebirth. According to his faith, when a pure soul dies, it's given a chance to be born again. Vlad is certain Elizabeth was a pure soul, so he waits. For years, time passes, but there is no trace of her. Finally, broken and exhausted, he goes to Elizabeth's grave and digs it up. Inside, there is nothing, only her bones. All hope is gone. Vlad decides to end his life. One night, he jumps from a great height, but he doesn't die. He jumps again and again. Still, death never comes. That's when Vlad realizes there's no escape, not like this. And because he can no longer live among humans, he searches for another way to ease his loneliness. He travels first to Baghdad, where he gathers rare wildflowers and other special ingredients. Then he returns to Europe. After years of research, he creates a perfume. Its scent hypnotizes women, draws them to him, makes them obey him. Slowly, this is how he fills the emptiness. Then one day, at a party in France, surrounded by women, Dracula wears the perfume again. And this time he feels it. He believes he's finally found Elizabeth. He follows the woman, he touches her, and instantly he knows. She isn't Elizabeth. After coming so close and still losing her, Vlad breaks. For a while, he loses the strength to keep searching. But then, another plan forms in his mind. A darker one. He decides to use women to reach Elizabeth. That night, he bites several women at the party and turns them into vampires. Maria is one of them. Now with so many women working for him, Dracula's hope is reignited. As time passes, he grows old. He no longer leaves the castle himself. Instead, he sends his gargoyles out into the world. They bring him enormous wealth, and Dracula uses that wealth for one purpose: to continue searching for Elizabeth. After hearing everything, Jonathan tells Dracula that he understands his love. He says he's suffered deeply for it. He begs him not to kill him because he loves someone just as much. If he dies, his fiancée will be left with the same unbearable pain Vlad once felt. As he says this, Jonathan shows him a locket. Inside is a picture of his fiancée. The moment Dracula sees the image, he freezes. He's shocked. Instantly, he understands the truth. Jonathan's fiancée, Mina, is the rebirth of Elizabeth. Dracula immediately orders Jonathan to be imprisoned and storms out. Now that his search is over, he decides to restore his youth and beauty. And for that, he needs a massive amount of blood. He sends his gargoyles out to get it. Meanwhile, in Paris, the priest shows Dr. Dumont a picture of Elizabeth. He tells him this is the woman they must find. Dracula is searching for her, and if they find her, they'll be able to reach Dracula. He explains that Dracula was once a normal man, cursed by God, and turned into a vampire. He also says that according to the Holy Scriptures, if Dracula is killed, every vampire he created will become human again. And if Dracula truly asks God for forgiveness from his heart, the curse on him and the others could be lifted. Just then, the doctor's assistant rushes in with news. A young woman who looks exactly like Elizabeth has come to the waiting area to meet Maria. The doctor and the priest are stunned. They rush out immediately. There, they meet Mina. Mina tells them Maria is her friend, and she came to check on her condition. She explains that she already knew Henry, and through him, she met Maria at a party a few days ago. But ever since that night, Maria hasn't left her side. She also mentions that she was present on the wedding day, when Maria became violent after seeing the bishop. Hearing all this, the priest realizes Mina knows nothing about Vlad, and it's likely Maria never told her either, so he keeps quiet. Before leaving, he only takes Mina's address. The story then moves to a church. Dracula arrives there disguised as a monk. He tells a nun that he's extremely hungry. Feeling sorry for him, she brings him inside. The moment he steps in, he transforms back into Count Dracula. He applies his enchanted perfume. Drawn by its scent, the nuns are pulled toward him one by one. Dracula feeds on them, draining their blood. growing younger with every life he takes. The scene shifts back to the castle. Jonathan manages to break his chains. Using a blanket, he lowers himself down, trying to escape, but a gargoyle appears and slices the blanket. Jonathan falls. By pure luck, he survives. The sea below is completely frozen. He runs forward as the gargoyles chase him, but the ice beneath their feet begins to crack. Some fall into the freezing water. The rest retreat in fear. Jonathan escapes. At the same time, Dracula arrives at the mental hospital where Maria is being kept. He hypnotizes everyone inside. When Maria sees Vlad, she smiles and happily tells him she's found his wife. This time, Dracula has returned young again. As a reward, he hands the doctor's assistant over to Maria. She drinks his blood. Then Dracula takes her with him and leaves. The next morning, the priest and the doctor discover that Maria is gone, and the assistant has been turned into a vampire. Then we see Mina. Maria comes to meet her, hugs her, and tells her she's completely fine now. She says the doctors have discharged her. She also says someone is waiting for her. She takes Mina to a party. Vlad is already there, waiting. The moment he sees Mina, time seems to stop. In her face, he sees Elizabeth, but Mina doesn't recognize him. Mina enjoys the party with Maria, while Vlad watches her from a distance. After the party, he gives Mina the same old music box he once gave Elizabeth at the beginning of the story. As soon as Mina touches it, vague memories rush through her mind. She feels confused. She refuses the gift, but Vlad forces it into her hands and later drops her home. Inside the house, Maria sees that Jonathan has returned. He's badly injured. With him are the priest, Dr. Dumont, and several others. The priest finally tells Mina everything about Count Dracula. Stunned, Mina says she met someone just like that earlier today. After that, the priest tells her the truth about Maria being a vampire. He also explains the perfume Dracula uses to hypnotize people. Mina goes up to her room. As soon as she puts her bag down, her eyes fall on the music box. She picks it up, and once again, blurred memories begin to surface. Suddenly, Vlad appears in front of her. Because the priest already told her that Vlad is Count Dracula, Mina panics and tries to run. But along with fear, she feels something else. Something she can't explain. She doesn't understand why she feels drawn to him. Confused, Mina tells him that he's hypnotized her with the perfume. Vlad immediately throws the perfume into the fire. He tells her he never used it on her. The feelings she's experiencing are coming from memories of her past life. He takes her hand and slowly brings those memories back. Within moments, Mina remembers everything. She remembers Elizabeth. Now she accepts Vlad as her own and asks him to take her with him. Downstairs, as the scent of the perfume spreads, the priest and the others realize Dracula has arrived. They rush to Mina's room, but Vlad is already gone with her. The priest knows Vlad has taken Mina to his castle, and rescuing her from there won't be easy. Now only Henry can help them. He has an entire army. At the same time, Henry is at home when Maria arrives. She tells him she's completely fine now and slowly moves closer to him. Her real intention is to bite him and turn him into a vampire. Before she can, the priest and the others arrive. The moment Maria sees the priest, she turns violent and attacks him. The priest shoots her, but it has no effect. Then Dr. Dumont cuts off her head with a sword. Even then, her body keeps moving. Finally, the priest drives a cross into her chest. Maria is dead. Henry is furious after seeing this, but the priest explains everything. Maria becoming a vampire, the truth about Count Dracula, and Mina's situation. He convinces Henry to prepare an attack on the castle. Inside the castle, Vlad introduces Mina to his gargoyles. The two of them are growing closer when Henry and his army launch their attack. Within minutes, the castle is overrun. The priest and the others make their way inside. Vlad tells Mina not to leave the room under any circumstances. He says he'll deal with them and come back. Then he leaves. Outside, Vlad kills several soldiers on his own. He bites Henry and turns him into a vampire. The rest of the soldiers are killed. Only the priest survives. Jonathan lies unconscious. Placing a sword against the priest's chest, Vlad says he is the man the priest has been searching for all these years. He says he doesn't want to fight God, but he also refuses to live as God's slave. The priest tells him he's not fighting God. He's fighting himself, and God didn't send him to be destroyed, but to be saved. Vlad angrily asks why, if that's true, God punished him for so many years, why he was never allowed to die. The priest says it was all to give him a chance to correct his mistake, but Vlad insists he made no mistake. He only wanted to be with his wife. The priest tells him that by doing this, he's cursing Mina as well, and if he truly loves her, he must surrender to God. At that moment, the sound of explosions echoes outside. Vlad looks out the window and sees a massive army approaching the castle. That's when it hits him. If he keeps going down this path, he'll lose Mina all over again, and he doesn't want her to live a cursed life as a vampire. Finally, he decides to surrender his soul to God so they can be reunited in the next life. After saying goodbye to Mina, he stands before the priest. The priest pulls out a blessed dagger and drives it into Vlad's chest. Mina refuses to let him go. She pulls him into the room. As Vlad is wounded, his body transforms back into his true form. Old, weak, the real Dracula. But Mina isn't afraid. She asks him why he did this. He tells her it's because he loves her. Mina says she loves him too. And in that moment, Vlad's body turns to ash and scatters into the air. Jonathan regains consciousness. He looks at Mina and understands the truth. Elizabeth is still alive inside her, and because of that, Mina will never be able to love anyone except Vlad. Realizing this, Jonathan grows quiet and deeply sad. Elsewhere, the gargoyles are finally freed from the curse. They were never monsters to begin with. They were the trapped souls of young children. With Vlad's death, their curse is broken. One by one, they leave the castle and disappear. And with that, this tragic horror love story comes to an end. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it. Let me know in the comments who's waiting for new horror movies. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care.